Hey guys, what's up? We're live. Today we're going to talk about connection, right? That thing you actually want in game. So remember, I've talked in previous webinars and a lot in the system about how a lot of the early stuff, attraction type tactics, establishing premise, moving through the process, it's all a means to an end. It's not an end in itself. The goal isn't just to say as many flirty things as possible. The goal is to actually, build a connection with the girl. So now we're talking about how to literally do that. And I want to make a distinction. This is a distinction when I made the program, the system, and then also today as I'm talking to you guys. And that is the distinction between what I call comfort and what I call connection. Right? A lot of previous models of game, if you've been around the community for a while, you will have seen those kind of things. You will have seen things like comfort. Right? A lot of older models, it's attraction first and then comfort, or value and then comfort. I'll actually talk about value and comfort a little bit today. But why do I say connection rather than comfort? Well, let's get into, first of all, where this idea of comfort comes from, how it's useful, and then we'll get into maybe what the problems are with that model. So first of all, we have the value comfort model, which is something that I've talked about for years in game. I think it is very, very useful. The idea being that in order for the girl to sleep with you, she needs, or win a relationship with you, but specifically sleep with you in this case, she needs a combination of value and comfort. She needs to know that you're a high value guy, a high status guy, a guy that potentially has enough to bring to the table to be worth her time, to be worth wanting to get into a relationship with. But then secondly, you want that comfort to show that you actually are the type of guy that might potentially stick around, type of guy that won't just like leave her high and dry with a baby, right? And thinking about like an evolutionary environment, it's important, right? You want good, healthy baby, but you also want a father to raise that baby because, the world's a scary place. So that's the idea. And the idea here is that you need a certain amount of both, right? That like once you've reached a certain amount of value and a certain amount of comfort, now the girl will sleep with you because you've shown enough of both. And the interesting thing is that you kind of have to create it in increments. Because if you create all value and no comfort, she's going to distrust you. If you create all comfort and no value, she's going to probably put you in like a friend zone or a platonic sort of low value providery, but not even provider that I have sex with, provider that just takes care of me, that I use for things, whatever, that kind of a category, right? So it's important that you build them at the right ratio, because if you build all value first then and no comfort, then that doesn't work very well. If you build all comfort first and no value, that also doesn't work very well. So you need to build them in a proper ratio and a proper amount. But the funny thing with value and comfort, and here's where part of the issue with comfort comes in, is that value and comfort are opposites. Okay, almost anything that you do that builds value is going to decrease comfort. Almost everything you do that builds comfort is going to decrease value. All right, so let me give you kind of a general idea of why this is the case. So a lot of value is built on high social status and, in fact, even social proof, the idea that like other girls like you, right? And so if other girls liking you is value, well, that doesn't make the girl real comfortable with the idea that you're going to stick around with her, right? It doesn't make her very comfortable that you're not going anywhere. Because if every girl likes you, well, that should be a strong indicator that you won't be faithful. That should be a strong indicator that she should be worried, right? On the other hand, let's say you do something that establishes a lot of comfort, like, professing your undying love to the girl or always being available for her. Like every time she calls, you pick up the phone, and every time if you miss her call, you call back within 1 minute. And every time she asks you to do something, you do it immediately and drop anything you're doing. Well, in that case, that builds comfort. She thinks you're committed. She thinks you'll stay around. But she has to wonder, like, why is this guy so committed? Right? Why is this guy so easy? Right? Does he not have other options? Am I really the best he can do? In which case, it makes it appear that your value has gone down. And so this is kind of one of the big paradoxes in game, is that you want to be able to build value without destroying your comfort, and you want to be able to build comfort without destroying your value. And the two sort of work against each other. And so there are things you can do. One of the big ones I talk about is storytelling, right? Storytelling definitely builds value and comfort at the same time, at least potentially, because you are getting to know the girl and opening up to her and telling her things, but at the same time, you're hopefully holding the frame, you're leading the conversation. Within the story, you can tell some high value sorts of things, that kind of stuff, right? Another one that builds value and comfort at the same time is sex. Right. So on the one hand, her having sex with you is commitment and consistency, building your value. She has to rationalize why she had sex with you. On the other hand, it's comfort in the sense that, well, she's already done that now, so there's no more thing for you to win. right? Since you've already won, so to speak, there's no more agenda on your part. And in fact, I think the matrix shifts for what winning for her is. Winning shifts from being, trying to, make it hard for you to have sex or trying to be the high value prize to now that she's had sex with you, winning is keeping you around, right? And so that whole value comfort dynamic has shifted in that regard as well. But so there are things you can do that build value and comfort at the same time, and those are some of the best things to do in game. By the way, storytelling is great, sex is great. Both are recommended game moves, especially sex. Definitely a recommended game move there. So those are some areas. But for the most part, the things you're doing to build value will decrease comfort. Things you're doing to build comfort will decrease value. Like for example, if you say you and I are not going to get along, builds value, not so great for comfort. If you say, oh, you know what, I really admire that thing about you, builds comfort, not so amazing for value, right? And so that's the trade-off. And so a lot of older kind of models of game would have this thing where it was like you have the value phase and the comfort phase. And first of all, let's ask ourselves, just as a side note, why is it that the value phase comes first? Well, the reason for that isn't that it's more important, but it's that if you don't do the value phase, she won't stay around long enough for the comfort phase, right? So a lot of guys make the mistake of the inherent sort of male tendency is to make this mistake of leading with comfort. They go in and they just have a platonic conversation. Or they just ask the girl question after question or just start sharing biographical details. And what happens is the girl is really bored and thinks of you as very low value and wants to get out of that conversation, right? So the reason why we lead with value first isn't because we'd like to, it's because we have to. It's because if we don't lead with value first, she doesn't usually stay around for the comfort, right? So we have this value and then comfort thing. And let's look at the opposite side. If we had all value and no comfort, we just have like value-based game, we get their attention. Well, then what? Well, a lot of guys do this also. A lot of guys just like tease, berate, kind of like disqualify, and they're just these like cocky, funny guys that can never really be serious and never actually like even like you ask the girl asks the guy his job like 45 minutes in, and he's like, I'm a disposable lighter repairman. She's like, no, that's cute, but I really want to know what you do. He's like, no, I repair disposable lighters. And he's like, no, I get the joke. It's very clever, but what do you do? He's like, you know those lighters that you throw the. She's like, bye, take care, have a nice day, right? Have a nice life. Because he wasn't able to be genuine, right? And at a certain point, lack of genuineness actually starts to look insecure. It starts to look like try hard and needy. But also, it's just making things take a lot longer than they have to, right? Remember, the goal of game is to connect. And we'll talk a little bit about what creates connection. And part of it is time and shared activities and things like that. But if you're refusing to connect, all the time in the world isn't helping you. And if you're actively creating discomfort at all times, you're actively pushing the girl away and creating like more value than is necessary. Because again, remember, value deteriorates comfort. Then you end up in really bad situations. You end up in situations where the girl doesn't trust you. Maybe she's giggly, maybe she's attracted to you, but it's never going to go anywhere because she just can't take you seriously. She can't take this situation seriously. So you want to be very careful of those types of things. Okay. So that's a typical value comfort model. And so what you see in old school game a lot is that people understand this. They understand that you need to lead with value, you need to have comfort because they've been taught it. And they understand that you can't just do value because you'll never get anywhere. And so what they do is they just this transition where like we have the value phase and then we have the comfort phase. So you have this guy in the value phase that's like teasing, pushing away, you can't have me, hands off the merchandise, why do I even like you? Ugh, you're such a pain in the ass. And then all of a sudden they shift and like, oh wait, you're really amazing. Wow, that's cool about you. Oh, I like you now. Okay, I want you to be my girlfriend, right? And it's just such this like complete 180 shift. It's very incongruent, right? You went from being this like very high value, very hard to win over guy to being way too won over by all these little things, and it just seems like the girl can't trust you. Right? I mean, like you seem like you're two different people, and so either it seems disingenuous, or the other thing that happens is it seems really boring. It's like it was fun, and then it's now really, really boring and mundane, typical, ordinary, etc. And that's just really not going to fly. Okay, so the biggest mistake that, well, there are a lot of big mistakes with old school game, but a couple of the very big mistakes were not having a reasonable transition between value and comfort, so that it just like dropped like a ton of bricks or didn't make any sense, right? Because again, the girl's like, pushing her away, she's trying to validate herself, pushing away, trying to validate herself, and they're like, you know what, you're actually really cool. She's like, okay, I'm validated, bye, and she just leaves, right? Or the other one is that you suddenly stop doing all the like kind of attraction tactics you were doing, stop doing all like the fun stuff that was making you a cool high value guy, and now all of a sudden the girl just gets really bored. She's like, well, this was fun, but it's boring now. And in fact, in some ways, that's even worse than if you'd started out boring, because girls notice the change in energy. So, it was like amazing, amazing, amazing. And then the more I got to know him, the more boring it got. That's not such a good sign, right? That's not really what you're going for. So keep those things in mind. You don't want to get boring in the comfort phase, and you don't want to lose attraction.